Hello class, I'm trying to make up some time with the StatCrunch videos. I'm looking at Chapter 5, Section 3, and problems from the study guide that might be similar to what you might see on your homework. Now in Section 3, we're actually doing things that you did in Sections 1 and 2, only we're working backwards. In this case, they gave you the cumulative area, which means all the area to the left of that value. And then you want to find a z-score that corresponds to that cumulative area. So if you were looking at the table, much like you did in Section 1 and 2, we would have to find that area somewhere in this table. Like this particular one, page 1 doesn't have it. So you'd have to look at page 2, and you'd have to look for the 8997. And so when I look here, there's 8997 right here. So if I look to the left, that's 1.2, and if I look up, that's 0.08. So my z value should be 1.28. But StatCrunch can do the same thing for you, and you use the same table that you've been doing. Because they're asking for z values, we use the standard normal distribution. So when I go to Stat, Calculators, and Normal, I want to be sure that my mean is 0 and my standard deviation is 1. Because when you use a mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1, you will find z-scores. Even though it says x here, these are z-scores. Now what you do is, in this case, you can delete the number that's in the x value and type in your probability, 0.8997, and when you click compute here, it will give you the value of your z, it'll give you your z-score, and it wants it to 3 decimal places, so that would be 1.279, and then this 8 after the 9 makes it become a 10, which makes the 7 become an 8. So we have 1.280. 1.28. Somehow or another I didn't get that all typed in. 1.280. And that was the same as what we got using the page 2 of the table. So this one's going to be pretty similar. Let me see if I can find. I just thought I would try another, just another one of these. They tell you that we want to find the z-score related to a cumulative area of 0.047. I'm going to close this calculator off because that was a different problem. I'm going to open it back up. It's still a normal one with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. However, instead of typing in a value for x, we're going to type in the probability. And that's 0.047. And you notice that when I start typing a probability in, the x value box goes blank. And it definitely needs to be less than or equal. I don't know that I mentioned that in the other problem. Be sure that your inequality is less than or equal, because we're looking for the cumulative probability to the left. So the cumulative probability starts at the far left and moves as far as your z value. In this case, negative 1.6746 would be a negative 1.675 to 3 decimal places. So negative 1.675. Now the next question we're going to look at are percentiles. And what you have to do when you think about this particular curve, if the area under the entire curve is equal to 1, well, that's 100%. So if you're looking at a percentile of 48, that's 48%, where your cumulative probability is up to 48% of the data, which corresponds to an area of 0.48 out of 1. So I'm going to close this one off. We're going to go back into Stat. We're still going to do a normal calculator. And the mean is still 0. The standard deviation is still 1 because they're asking us for a z-score. However, on the probability, I type in 0.48. That is the decimal value equivalent to that percentage. 48% would be the same as 0.48 if we write it as a decimal. So when I click compute, can you see if we were clear to 0, that would be 50% to the left. So we've got 48% to the left at negative 0.050. Oh, we only want 2 decimal places, so that would be negative 0.05. Negative 0.05. So let's look at one more percentile. This one is a percentile for 75. So I'll close this calculator and open up a new calculator for a normal distribution with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1 because we're looking for a z-score. But our percentile is 75%. As a decimal, that would be 0.75 or 0.75. And we want the less than or equal to because we're doing a cumulative probability when we look at percentiles. And so it says that if it says X, but these are Z values because the mean is 0 and the standard deviation is 1, 0.67448975, but I only want 2 decimal places, so that's 0.67. Or you can type 0.67. And so that's the way the percentiles are going to be working. You can still use the normal calculator that we access through the Stat tab. I hope you find this information helpful. Please feel free to email me, contact me if you have questions about any of the other homework problems from 5.3. Okay, so I did find a couple of others from Chapter 5, Section 3 that might be a little more challenging, such as this picture on 5.3.22. And I need to find the z-scores to the right or the left for this particular probability. So if I want to do this one, I am using still the normal calculator. But I want the between because it's between 2 z values. And I need this total area. So if it's 0.4778, if I added those two together, I would get 0.9556. 0.9556. And if I compute this, it actually distributes it equally between the two sides. And it says that my z-scores are negative 2.0103 and 2.0103. And we're supposed to use a comma to separate those answers and only round them to 2 decimal places. So the one on the left would be negative 2.01, comma, and then I would have a positive 2.01. They're the same value of z. The symmetry here with the equal area on either side allows them or indicates that they will have the same numerical value. It's just one will be negative and one will be positive. They're equidistant from 0. So I'm going to close that one. Let's look at one more. Oh, well, let's check our answer here. And let's see if we can find one that's a little different. Find the z-score that has 71.9% of the distribution's area to its right. When we were looking at cumulative probabilities, we were looking at everything on the left. So this is the case where you'd still use stat with your normal calculator. We're looking for z-score, so we still need a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. And my area is, I've got to change that percent to a decimal. I've got to take that decimal there and move it 2 places to the left. So that's 0.719 as a decimal without the percent sign. And then if it's on the right, I don't want less than or equal, I want greater than or equal. And when I click the inequality, you can see that it computed the actual z value, and you can see that the red area is on the right of the z-score. And so to 2 decimal places, I have negative 0.579, and this 9 will make that 7 round up to an 8. So negative 0.58. And this one's very similar to the between. I'm going to see if they're, I think most of these are very similar. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. Be sure to close out your calculator, and you see we worked 6 problems here, so I have 6 separate calculators, one for each question. Again, I hope you find this helpful, and please feel free to contact me should you have questions.